Well, hello, all my poor people. Michael Diederich here. I'm just a poor boy. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back, as the case may be. In this little village in the north of Holland called Schermerhorn, don't try and pronounce it, I've had several events. I have done my big exhibition in 2020 of my paintings. I've also direct and choreographed local musicals here. For those of you that saw my annual tribute video to my father this year in 2021, I also sang here in this church. But on Sunday the 14th, there was the House and Hearth, the House and Heart market. And this was for local artists selling their wares. There was clothing, there was decorative items, there was even some foodstuffs. So it's really just, for local artists to peddle their wares. The market still went on, but people did have to show their Corona test code at the door. I wore a mask a lot of times inside. The stands were pretty far apart, so that made me feel pretty good. I did pretty well at the market. I got a really good space at the end of the church. Luckily, I also know the people who, run the space, and he had said to the organization, like, hey, Michael, he knows what he's doing. He also got some paintings, so it'd be nice if we could use one of the walls. This would probably be a good place for him. And I'm really glad that they did that, because I also got a lot of compliments on my stand. So for those of you that are thinking about selling your items, not online, but going to either an art fair or a Christmas market, a lot of times you'll rent a space and get a table, for example. And that's what I want to talk about today, is how to set up your table. And today I'm going to give you 10 tips to really help increase your sales when you are selling at an art market. Let's go. Tip number one is preparation. Just like in theater, I always say, if you rehearse, everything will go fine. You need to prepare in advance. First thing is, get your venue info. What time is the market open? What time is it closing? What time are you allowed to come in and set up your table? At this market, we are allowed to come in the day before for 3 hours and 2 hours in the morning before the doors open. How big is your space? If you are renting, for example, a table, how big is it? At this market, and it's pretty standard, it was 75 centimeters by 200 centimeters, so you know exactly how big your table is, yeah? That leads to the next step in preparation, which is do a test run at home. I literally set up my stuff on my dining room table at home just to make sure I had enough room. And in fact, it turned out I had more room than I thought, so I was able to put more product in there. You want to make sure that you maximize your space. That also means you should make lists. You don't want to forget things. I had a lady who showed up on Sunday morning and she was sure she was forgetting something. And yeah, at one point she heard me take out my little chest full of change and money, and she was like, oh no, I forgot to get money, cash money. So just think about everything you're gonna need. I sold a lot of jewelry, so I even brought my jewelry making tools in case someone wanted a necklace and they went, oh, it's a little bit too long, or this bracelet's too tight, so I could make immediate adjustments. Make sure you make lists. Also make sure you have enough product, yeah? I'll talk about this a little bit later, but I actually brought extra product, yeah? And I'll tell you what that means and why I do that a little bit later. The last step in preparation is try and make everything you're bringing easy to unpack and easy to pack back up, yeah? I put my stuff in a lot of boxes instead of trying to wrap things up nice and tight. For example, these jewelry displays I put them in boxes and I kind of push them up against the corner of the box and then put a piece of paper just in between the next one and then put the next jewelry display in that box, and that way my necklaces didn't get tangled. I also hung all of my displays in advance and brought those displays full. I saw people come and set up their displays and then they were putting all the individual products on there. Yeah, maybe you have to, it's possible, but I tried to get as much done as possible in advance. So preparation is key. Tip number 2 is the foundation, especially talking about this table. My big recommendation for your foundation is cover your tablecloth, perfect fabric, whatever you want. But people were bringing like Christmassy, patterned, busy fabric. The problem is, it was all so busy to look at. You know, if you put down a red tablecloth that's got, Santa Claus and snowman all over it, and then you put glitter on top of that as well, and then you put your product on top of it, when you look, your products are competing for attention with the base. Pick one solid color, something that's complementary. If you've got like something dark that you're selling, for example, then put down, a white base or a lighter base. My jewelry in general and my products are very colorful, so I chose to go with black. I could have also gone with white, but the thing with white is that it gets dirty easy. People might be touching it and stuff like that, and I'm just going to reuse this same fabric over and over again. That's why I went with black. I also find black has like a nice chic, professional feeling to it, so that's what I decided to go for, and because of that, my products really popped. Yeah. Number 3 is invest in your displays. If you are going to be selling more often than just once, it's good to have the right displays to sell your product. I have these carousels for selling my necklaces. I have little stands for selling my earrings. I've got these special displays for selling my bracelets. And it wasn't that expensive, but once you've invested in it, then you have it and you can always use it. I actually keep my products right on those display units, pack them up, and put them away until the next market. I also take pictures of those same displays because, hey, if someone online says, I saw this piece I wanted, I know exactly in which box it is. So invest in your displays. Number 4, maximizing your space. When you think about a table being 75 by 200 centimeters, depending on what you're selling, that could be a lot, or it also could be, quite small. And there are ways to maximize your space. The first one is, a lot of people will throw a tablecloth over their table, and all of the room underneath your table is now gone. Now some people like to put their boxes and their extra products and stuff like that. I brought everything back out to the car that I didn't think I was going to need, and I kept the underside of my table open. That way I could use that space to sell more products. I brought these 3 little white tables, and this allows me to put more products out, so it's actually under the table. When it comes to the top of the table, I tested this at home. You've got this space, 75 by 200, but it's really just one plane, horizontal, How do you maximize your space? And that's to think vertically. Now, when you look at my display, you'll see that I have things at the front of the table. That's about the first 50 centimeters, but the back third, that last 25, actually 26 centimeters, you'll see that everything is raised up. I built very simply. I went to the hardware store. They even cut the plank to the right length. I had them cut out this plank. It's 200 centimeters wide and 2 little raised sides, screwed it together, put some supports into it, it's a done deal. You could have this open if you want, but I decided to close it off. Number one, because then there was no distracting hole underneath. And number two, by putting this extra piece of tablecloth on this display, behind that and underneath that raised section, I had my extra tools, I had my money box, I had my extra supplies, my cup of coffee, and it just kept my table nice and neat, and I could keep my own personal belongings there. So it's a great way to think about maximizing your space. This kind of goes hand in hand with tip number 5, which is keeping your displays full. For example, look at these earrings. You go, very nice. But now look at this one and you go, yeah, it's kind of sad because it's missing holes. Yeah, it looks empty. People who work at like open air markets or like food markets, they'll always tell you, if you've got like a crate of cucumbers, for example, the hardest sell is always the last two, because people look and they go, oh, there's only two. Something must be wrong with those last two. They're the hardest ones to sell. So if you can keep refilling your displays, or even more important, start with a full display, that's great. So when I would sell a pair of earrings, I would go to my supply box and I would replace pieces. I'd put in another pair of earrings. I had more than enough product to do that. So there were never any empty holes in my display. When you're thinking about keeping your displays full, you know, if you've bought the right stuff, there are ways to maximize your space and ways to think smart. So specifically for jewelry, for example, when it comes to earrings, I've got quite a large selection of earrings, and I see people that are placing it in colors, for example, or they'll go, oh, here are my gold earrings, here are my silver earrings, and here are my bronze earrings, for example, and that's all great. But what I've discovered is, when it comes to earrings especially, people have very, very specific wishes. They either want a stud or a hook or a clasp. They like a certain type of earring. So instead of thinking about the metal setting or the color of the gem or the jewel or whatever it is, I've actually put my displays in types of earrings. So I have my square studs, my circular studs, my clasps, my hooks, so that when people say that, I can directly show them, oh, these are the types of earrings you're looking for. They're not then wasting their time going, oh, this is pretty, oh, but I don't wear studs. Yeah, they'll look through the colors. Yeah, they'll make a decision, but first, when they're going to buy, they're going to want a specific type. So sort your earrings by type. Now, look at these bracelets, for example. One of the ways that you can maximize them on a certain display is you'll notice that they're kind of alternating when the gems come together. I'm calling them gems and jewels. You'll see that I kind of rotate them up and down so I can get the bracelets closer together. Now, this may not sound a lot, but if you can get 2 or 3 more bracelets on there, great. And if it looks overcrowded, that's not good either. But in general, looking at these, you go, wow, there is a large selection that I could always replace. And when it comes to my necklaces, I bought these rotating hangers, and they have 23 hooks on them. Now, the thing is, you could put on, 23 pieces, great. The problem is, especially with necklaces, that things will get twisted and turned. It's hard to keep them straight, yeah? So I actually bought, number one, these paper folding displays. Now, you can put earrings on them as well, but I found they were really, really good for necklaces. Now, strangely enough, if you look up at the top, I put them 1 for every 2 hooks. Now, originally, I was hanging the necklaces across 2 hooks, but it just looked sloppy, and I could get then 11 pieces onto this display. That wasn't good, and you went 23 hooks, only 11 pieces. By using these folding papers, I was able to get more because I went with these multiple levels. There are then 12 I managed to fit on the bottom, there's 12 in the middle, and 12 on the top. So I've actually managed to get 36 pieces onto each of these displays. And because they're separated with these folded cardboard papers, they're easy to take off. The last thing I want to say about these earrings actually goes back to tip 4 about maximizing the space. You'll notice that on these carousel displays, I have 8 of them, but they alternate high and low. And that is because I wanted to make use of the vertical space again. So you'll see that starting on the outside, these carousels are actually raised up quite a bit. And that allows me to put an earring display in front of them. So again, I can get more product. If I would have put those earrings in front of the necklaces and they were just on the table, the earring display would be blocking my necklaces. So this is an easy way of doing it. I'll show you real quick how I did these. It's actually very simple. I had these square vases, and all I did was take some styrofoam, I cut them to the right size, I attached them to the vases. I just used this, I don't know what it's called, it's like this poster putty. You peel it off, it feels like silly putty, and you roll it up into little balls, and you can hang like posters onto wallpaper, for example, without damaging it. I use this to keep those pieces of styrofoam in place. And then I just took pieces of black fabric, covered them up, taped them literally underneath, and I had these perfect displays. And those 4 raised vases, they actually fit right into my boxes with my displays. They actually help separate things, so they serve a dual purpose in the long run, and it allowed me to get more on my table. Now, you don't want to block things. Like I just said, if I'm looking at these necklaces and the earrings in front of them, I can't see them. But you can stack certain things. So, for example, you'll see in the middle of my table, I have this mosaic tray that I made, and I put the 3 bracelet displays and 1 earring display in there. Now, twice during the day, someone wanted to see that. Great. I slid the tray forward and just 1, 2, 3, 4. Placed those 4 displays on the table. Took me less than 8 seconds and showed them the tray and was able to easily put it back. That tray is big, and if I just have it blank, I am using a lot of space. Same on the ends of the table. I had, for example, these sushi trays that I had acrylic poured and put resin on, and I actually put little things on top of those as well that were easy to remove. You'll also see just behind there, there's this display unit with these 2 green shelves. I put a couple things on there as well, just to help feature them. It's a great way to maximize your space and keep your displays full. Stack without blocking. Tip number 6 has to do with labeling. So now I've got these nice displays, I've got a nice cloth, it gives me a nice foundation for looking professional. The next thing is my signage and my tags, because if I put labels on things, a couple things happen. Number 1, it's very, very clear what the price is. None of this haggling or people going, oh, what does this cost? What does this cost? It's there, it's very, very clearly marked. Not that you don't want to talk to your customers, but it's just one question less they have to answer. As far as professionalism goes, I decided to laminate my pieces. This just gives them, again, another level of professionalism. They looked good. Now, the one mistake I'd say I made is I had discounted my pieces. We'll talk about that at the end of this. But for example, it had the name of the product, and then it said what my normal price was, and then it said the house and hearth price. I had like special prices for this fair. I do it every live event. So instead of putting the name of the event, I should have put today's price, for example. And I'm going to do that in the future, because then I can just reuse those laminated signs over and over. But they just look more professional that way. It says exactly what's on there. You can see that I used the background painting from my logo, so it just ties in my whole brand, same letter type everywhere. Really makes everything look nice. Labels. And next up is have something to show, like a demonstration, for example. Now, during my exhibition, I actually had an evening where I poured paintings. Here at this table, I didn't have much room. However, when people were asking about my jewelry and how I did it, it was very easy to go, oh, see this painting up here in the corner? Well, the painting that drips off, it makes these skins. And then I would actually kind of like show them the process of how I make my jewels. And people thought that was fascinating, and it kept them at the table. And because I'm engaging them, people saw that, and it would bring more people in. Sometimes people would ask me like, oh, how'd you do that? I would actually then on my iPad pull up one of my time-lapse videos. Yeah, here's how I did it. Great for fascinating people and going, oh, wow, that's great. So some sort of demonstration. Number 8 is have some options. So I talked a little bit about this earlier about having extra product, but this means a little bit more to me, because if you look behind my table, for example, I had some paintings. Now, number 1, I went for some smaller paintings instead of my big pieces just so I could put more up, but I did have some big paintings with me and some other options. The other options were, number 1, to replace any paintings I sold, and number 2, I put some of my pieces that I thought, oh, this would be popular. And if people were like, oh, I like that, then I go, oh, well, I also have this. I could pull it out. So it was great to have those options in the paintings. Same thing with my jewelry. I had my little jewelry case with me. I said little, but it's a pretty big case, actually. Fits behind my chair, no problem. Someone came up and was like, oh, I love these snowflakes, but I don't wear blue. I wish you had one of these in green. Well, you'll never believe it, but I had greenskins with me. I had cabochons. I had those extra snowflake basils, and I literally said, give me 10 minutes and I'll make you one. And she was so grateful and so happy. So having those extra options with you is really, really a good idea. Number 9, we're living in the modern era. Use your technology. Advertise on Facebook and Instagram and all those good things, but more importantly is, especially now that in the Netherlands people are having to show their their Corona pass, and it's like a QR code. So when you go to an event or go into certain venues, you have to show that you've been vaccinated, and almost everyone now has a QR scanner. So I gave them 2 options at my table. Number 1, if you wanted to go to my website, you could grab one of my business cards, but I made it easy. It's like, oh, if you want to look at what else I have as far as paintings, here, just scan the QR code. And this brought them directly to my website. Of course, because I love YouTube, I also said, hey, you don't have time right now, but if you want to see how I make my paintings and my jewelries and my objects, go to my I'm Just a Poor Boy channel. And I also had a QR channel there that they could scan. I was amazed how many people really, really liked that idea. Also really smart is, as far as payment goes, with cash or people being able to use their cards. Some people don't want to pay the money to have one of those card swipers, for example, but my bank was very, very easy. If someone wanted to buy something, oh, it's $19.95. I could type it in, it would generate the QR code, I could show it to the customer, they would scan it, and within 30 seconds, the money was in my account. It made it so much easier than dealing with cash and change. Again, I did do quite a few cash sales, so I have that option available, but boy, it was so nice to be able to just do that with my phone. Use your technology. Finally, number 10, special deals. I have, for these fairs, a special price for everything. Now, I make sure that I don't price myself out of, the market, or that I'm losing money. I want to make sure that I still have a profit margin. But every single item on my table had the normal price and today's price. It's a minor discount, and it really made people feel like, ooh, this is the chance, because some people were like, oh, I'll check out your site. And it's like, that's great. Just know that today they're $19.95, but normally they're $22.50. Oh, that helped make at least 1 sale. Maybe 2, I can't guarantee, but the first one I definitely know is like, oh, well, yeah, then I'll get it now. Have some special deals. Also have a unique offer. So for example, I had these basils that look like snowflakes. So I wanted to have these like unique snowflakes, and especially around wintertime and Christmas time, I'll be putting them on Facebook and Instagram very soon. But before I did that, I wanted to have a exclusive for the market. So this was a brand new product. I'd never sold it before. It was exclusive for this market, and I had a promotional price. Sold several of these. So it made people feel like, ooh, here's a chance. And it was also themed to the time of year. Again, it wasn't exactly Christmas, but it was definitely getting colder and heading towards winter. So these snowflakes were great. I told you the woman who bought the one that was green, she was like already talking about, oh, I don't wear blue. And when I'm, for Christmas dinner, I like to wear green. So already she was thinking ahead. And it's like, I know she's going to be wearing my necklace at Christmas dinner. It was great. Also suggested for gifts as well. It's like they make perfect, it makes the perfect stocking stuffer, yeah? So having these kind of promotional deals, even if it's not about price, but like it's exclusive or sold for the first time today. I actually have a basil in my kit that I'm like, I cannot wait to use this, but I'm saving it for the next market so I can release a new product then as well. It does make a difference. So I hope you enjoyed these 10 tips. If you have any further tips that you go, hey, here's a good idea, why don't you go ahead and put those in the comments below. Also, if you have any questions about any of these tips or comments, put them in the comment box. I love to read them. I react to all my comments. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that button for me. Thank you so much for watching. Some more painting videos are going to be coming soon. My name is Michael Diederich. I'm just a poor boy. Thanks for watching.